Now let us solve another question which was given in GATE 2015 in pipelining for 2 marks. Let us have a look at this question. Consider the sequence of machine instructions given below. MUL R5 R0 R1, DIV R6 R2 R3, add R7 R5 R6, SUB R8 R7 R4. There are 4 instructions. First one is multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. In the above instructions, R0 to R8 are general purpose registers. In the instruction shown, the first register stores the result of the operation performed on the second and third registers. Of course, obviously we know that. The first register is the destination register. Next 2 registers are the source registers. The sequence of instructions is to be executed in a pipeline instruction processor with the following 4 stages. That is, this has to be executed in a pipeline processor which has 4 stages. Okay, let me draw it here. There are 4 stages. 1, 2, 3, and there are 4 stages. Okay, which are namely instruction fetch and decode, that is IF, operand fetch, and the next one is perform the operation, and finally write back, register write back. Okay, here each of these stages, instruction fetch, operand fetch, and write back, if you can have a look at this question, will take 1 clock cycle each for any operation. Either it could be an addition, subtraction, and multiplication or division. Each of these stages will take only 1 clock cycle for any of the operation. But perform the operation is different. Okay, the perform the operation will be different from the other stages. That is because the perform the operation stage takes 1 clock cycle for addition and subtraction, and 3 clock cycles for multiplication, and the 5 clock cycles for division. Okay, now I will let it here. Pivot stage, 1 clock cycle for add or subtract, and 3 clock cycles for multiplication, and 5 clock cycles for division. Okay, so this is the thing. Now let us go back and have a look at this. Here, the additional detail is the pipeline processor uses operand forwarding from the pivot stage to OF stage directly. Generally, the operand forwarding will be pivot stage to pivot stage, okay, which we've discussed in my regular class sessions. And the number of clock cycles taken for execution of the above sequence of instruction is what? So how many clock cycles in order to execute this? How many clock cycles are actually required? Let us have a look at. Okay. Now see if there is any dependency in between instruction before we go. Okay. Between these two, there is no dependency. Okay. There is no dependency in between the first 2 because all the operands here that are used are completely different, right? In between division and addition, I think there is a dependency. Is there a dependency? Yes, there is a dependency. That is R6, which is used as the destination, and that is going to be used as a source in the add instruction. That is, in the division instruction, R6 is the destination, and in the add instruction, which is a subsequent instruction to the division, R6 is a source instruction. So there is a dependency. Unless the R6 is produced after the division of the execution of the division instruction, there is no way that I can fetch R6 directly. So there is a dependency in between these 2 instructions. Between addition and subtraction, let us see if there is a dependency. Addition and subtraction, here is as follows. Again, here R7 is the destination, and here the next instruction R7 is the source. Okay, so again there is a dependency. These 2 instructions are also needed to be separated. Okay, so here, but don't worry, here this pipeline system is using operand forwarding technique to handle this data hazard. This is data hazard, right? Whenever there is a dependency, we do call it as a data hazard. In order to handle this data hazard, this pipeline is using operand forwarding technique. Okay, but operand forwarding is a slightly modification in the operand forwarding technique, that is PO stage to the OF stage directly. PO stage to OF stage directly. Let us see how this is going to work. Let us again see, between division and addition there is a dependency, and between addition and subtraction there is a dependency. Let us solve this. Okay, so this is the space-time diagram. Diagram for the question. Let us have a look at this. Okay, I1, which is multiplication instruction. Am I right? Yes, I1 is a multiplication instruction, I2 is division, I3 is addition, and I4 is subtraction. Okay, now I1 is a multiplication instruction. Of course, it enters into the pipeline in the very first clock cycle, that is in the instruction fetch stage. In the second clock cycle, it enters into operand fetch stage. In the third clock cycle, it enters into perform the operation stage. In the fourth clock cycle, it enters into, of course, as the multiplication instruction is going to spend 3 clock cycles in perform the operation stage, it will be in the perform the operation stage for 3 clock cycles as it is shown in the picture. So in T3, T4, T5, for 3 clock cycles, the multiplication instruction is going to be in the perform the operation stage. Finally, in the 6th clock cycle, it is going to leave the perform the operation stage and enters into write back stage. Okay, obviously I2 will enter into the pipeline in the 2nd clock cycle into the instruction fetch stage. Because instruction fetch stage will be free in the only in the 2nd clock cycle, because in the 2nd clock cycle I1 is going to leave instruction fetch stage. The moment I1 leaves instruction fetch stage, I2 enters into the instruction fetch stage. The moment I1 goes from operand fetch to perform the operation, the moment I1 leaves operand fetch stage, I2 will enter into operand fetch stage. Okay, but here the thing is, I2 cannot enter into perform the operation stage because the perform the operation stage is engaged by I1. I1 is still in the perform the operation stage because it is going to spend in the perform the operation stage for 3 clock cycles. It is going to be accommodated in the perform the operation stage for 3 clock cycles because multiplication instruction is going to consume 3 clock cycles in PO. So I2 cannot enter into PO. Okay, the moment only when I1 leaves perform the operation stage, I2 can enter into the perform the operation stage, right? Yeah. So in T6, perform the operation stage is available because I1 left to perform the operation stage only in T6. Okay, so I2 will enter into the perform the operation stage in T6. Since I2 is a division instruction, it is going to spend 6 clock cycles. It is going to be there in the perform the operation stage for 6 clock cycles. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think division is 5 clock cycles. Let me see again. Division is 5 clock cycles. Yes. Okay. Now, so this division instruction is going to be in perform the operation stage for 5 clock cycles. And then after 5 clock cycle, it is going to leave the perform the operation stage, and then it goes into write back stage. Obviously, I3 will enter into the pipeline in the 3rd clock cycle into the instruction fetch stage because instruction fetch stage will be free, and the moment I2 leaves it. Okay, so I3 enters into the pipe only in the 3rd clock cycle, instruction fetch. But operand, I3's operand is dependent on I2, right? Unless I2 produces an operand, I3 cannot take it. When I2 is going to produce an operand, at the end of the perform the operation stage, at the end of the perform the operation stage, I2 is going to produce an operand. And operand forwarding technique, operand forwarding will be from perform the operations to OF directly. So at the final clock cycle of the perform the operation stage, for I2 instruction, operand will be produced and forwarded to OF stage of I3. Okay, so I3 is going to fetch the operand directly from the perform the operation stage of I2. Okay, so operand fetch stage for I3 will be in 10th clock cycle. Okay, once again, just have a look at carefully. I2 is performing the operation right from 6th clock cycle, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So for this 5 clock cycles, I2 is performing the operation in pivot stage. Finally, in the final clock cycle, I2 will be able to produce the operand, right? In the final clock cycle, I will write it here. I2 will be able to produce the operand. Okay, as the operand forwarding is from pivot stage to OF stage, the produced operand will directly be forwarded to operand fetch stage of I3. So in the very clock cycle, in the same clock cycle, the operand will be forwarded to I3. So I3 can enter into operand fetch stage in T10 because in the 10th clock cycle, operand is being produced and being forwarded directly. So in the 10th clock cycle, I3 can enter into operand fetch stage. Then operand fetch stage followed by perform the operation followed by write back, because there is a dependency between I2 and I3. I3 is dependent on I2. And again, I4 is also dependent on I3, as you have seen in the question. Only these three are dependent instruction. I3 is dependent on I2, I4 is dependent on I3. Now let us see I4. I4 will enter into the instruction fetch in T4 itself, because instruction fetch stage is free. I don't need it here. Okay. Instruction fetch stage, I4 can enter in the 4th clock cycle. So then it cannot fetch the operand because the operand will have to be produced by I3. The moment the operand is produced in the same clock cycle, the operand will get forwarded. So operand is being produced by I3 in the 11th clock cycle. So in the same clock cycle, I4 can fetch the operand directly because there will be operand forwarding from perform the operation stage to operand fetch stage. So in the same clock cycle, the operand that is fetched by the previous instruction will be forwarded to the next instruction. So in the 11th clock cycle, I3 is producing the operand. In the same clock cycle, I4 is getting the operand in the operand fetch stage because I4 is going to enter into the operand fetch stage in the 11th clock cycle. Okay, so OF of I4 stage will be in the 11th clock cycle. Then I4 will enter into perform the operation and finally write back. So a total number of 13 clock cycles are needed to execute this complete program. This is the thing. Okay,